All right, guys, let's go on to the next example, the next exercise for that will help you to prepare for your certification, which is policies. I've already mentioned that before, but I want to say it again, that they're extremely, but really extremely important for your career, especially your career in cloud. Of course, they're important. They are an important part for this exam because they want to make sure that you understood the concepts and that you know how to read the policy and you know how to apply and what it does actually on your resources. But I think even more important is in your career in Azure, it's quite important to understand them because I don't think that there is a project in this world that has been deployed in Azure and that hasn't policies in place. So this will not gonna help you only right now on short term, but also in long term if you want to proceed to work in this field. So for our example, we have a research group which has two virtual networks, 1 and 2, and it has a virtual machine which is in running state. And we have a policy, and let's have a quick look at it. For example, you can see here the assignment name is not allowed resource types. This is actually what we need, and actually this is what the main purpose of the policy. It is enabled, so pay attention to this detail also. And you can see here not allowed resource types. So we can see the resources for which this policy is applied for. And we have two resources, which are virtual networks and virtual machines. So we have these two virtual networks in our case and the virtual machine. And of course, this policy is applied for this. We assume that this policy is applied for this resource group. Also for the exam, make sure that you are familiar to this kind of screenshots. You can go in the portal. I would show you myself, but I don't have testing subscription and I cannot use the one that my company uses. But you can create, I noticed that now you can create again a trial subscription. You can spend up to $200 for it, and you can create research or all kind of resources. I don't think there are any limitation. You have to check that by yourself, but I recommend you to do and try to practice that by yourself too. So our first question right here is, I'll go to the next slide, is am I able to move this virtual machine from the resource group which is located in to another resource group? And the answer here is yes, that's okay. And that's because the policy is applied only to this resource group. This is, I'd say it's a bit tricky, but actually you can move. Actually, you couldn't do any change on this virtual machine. And we'll see that in the next example. But if you want to move it from a resource group to another resource group where the policy is not applied, then you are free to do that. Keep that in mind. Another question that you can expect is, am I able to deallocate the virtual machine? And as I've said before, since the policy is applied for this resource group, you won't be able to do any change on the virtual machine. Same for the VNet. If they will ask you, am I able to change the address space of this virtual network? The answer is again no, so it's not okay. You cannot do any change on these two resources which are part of this resource group. If, for example, we have another resource group with same type of resources, then in that case you'd be able to, and there is no other policy applied for that specific resource group, then you'd be able to do any change on the resources that are part of that resource group. So keep that in mind.